So we're live.
Amazing.
All right. It has been, hey, Craig, it has been a crazy day for both of us. we are
Trying
a
to catch up here.
couple minutes behind, so we're trying to catch up. So welcome to Leadership by Design, our weekly show that's right here on Facebook Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm Siobhan Olivero, one of your hosts, here with my co-host Craig Baumol. How are you doing, Craig?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm starting to breathe, but at the same time, not, because we want to be here and ready for everybody else. So, but no, I honestly, today has been insane and amazing all at the same time. So I appreciate you, Siobhan. I appreciate anybody else who's live with us, who's watching, who's going to come on and watch us afterwards. The entire point of this is leadership by design. And sometimes you design the way that things are going to go in your day and they don't exactly work out the way that you want them to. But we move forward because we have a formula in our lives, right? So we want to pay attention to monitor and measure where we are every step of the way to recognize where might we have fallen down, fallen behind, and where can we step forward in the future, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Great. And I think that without intending to, I don't know if you did or not, this is a great segue into what we're going to be talking about. And we are going to be starting a series, and we might have some interruptions along the way with some things that are planned with some other guest hosts that'll be coming on with us. But we're going to be starting a series of beginner mistakes that entrepreneurs make. And this was an idea that we got. Craig did a post on Facebook, probably on LinkedIn too, of a meme. I don't know that meme is the right word for it, but a post that it's beginner mistakes that entrepreneurs make, and I
Sure.
went, it sounds like a great series for us to go in and talk about, and because I think that it falls in line with exactly what we're trying to do, what we want to teach people, and work through with people on in their businesses, and helping them create their businesses and the style of leadership that they want. Like you talked about, the name of our show is Leadership by Design, right? Because we can design the business that we want, we can create the leaders in our business that we want, we can create the culture that we want in our business, all to meet the outcomes and the goals that we desire to have. So mistake number one that we're going to talk about tonight, that beginner mistakes five entrepreneurs make, is having no plan. And so, Craig, I thought that was a great segue where you said, hey, sometimes we plan things and it doesn't go the way that we want them to, but we can work through things and measure and monitor. But I think as new entrepreneurs or someone that's starting a business, that many times, and I will tell you that from personal experience, I started a business with no real plan, right? And so and now my son, who's almost 20, wants to start some businesses, and so he just wanted to go and just go right into it and start it. And I had to sit him down and go, nope, that's not how we do it. We got to put a plan together. We got to figure things out. You need to have some things laid out before you do that, because you don't just want to go blindly into the world of business, because a lot of things can happen. They can go right, but they can go wrong. So so Craig, what are your thoughts on that?
So, and it's so funny that's coming from you too, because you are one of the most process-driven people I've ever met in my life. So for you to say, I went forward without a plan, I'm like, oh God, where do I, like I am, anybody that knows me knows that I am always all like I have what's called either the shiny object syndrome or jumpy squirrel syndrome. Like, little kid sees a squirrel out the window and all of a sudden his eyes are going where the squirrel's going. That's me, right? So so with somebody like yourself, who is so process driven and so particular in creating what you want to create, you're so intentional with your actions that I wonder how other people fare with it, and and I got a few comments specifically about like what some of the mistakes were, and people like to, I think, nitpick on language,
Of course, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for me, language is in particular so intentional,
Yeah.
right? There is so much behind our language. The language that we know, that we use, is really embedded in us so deeply, and that's why the work really based on our internal language. It's based on what is our external representation of our internal language? How are we showing up in the world based on the conversations that we're having with ourselves, the words that we use? So when we speak to people, right, a lot of times coaches will have a sheet that you fill out before every session that says all these things. Well, what do you hope to get out of this session, and what happened since last time? And so many times I do that at the beginning of my sessions with people because I want people to speak their minds. When we write, so many times we'll write something and then we'll change it. And then we'll write something like you're talking about a plan, right? And then sometimes people will say, and one of the comments that I got about no plan, well, if you're going to sit there and you're going to write out a plan forever, you're not going to actually go forward. Sometimes you just have to go with it and then you'll figure it out along the way. Yes, I understand that there's other ways to do it. And I'm not saying you have and what ends up happening is when people start having conversations, they'll say certain words, right? And we learn this from like Sean and Unblinded, and other people speak about this a lot, but you'll say certain words that you can pick up on and say, you mean this? Is this, I'm hearing that you use this word, is that because you feel a certain way? And they'll say, no, I really meant to use a different word. I really meant to say something else. But in reality, no, what you meant to say was the first thing. And really what you want to go forward with and what you want to work on is where you are in that space. So the idea of not having a plan is the idea of not even having an outcome. And I think that when it's just getting that outcome, just getting a desired effect of what you want to bring to the table is already starting of a plan. There are people, unfortunately, that say, no, I just want to go and make money, right? I've heard people say, like Tony talks about a lot. He says, I hear people all the time say that they want to start business more free time. And it makes me laugh and laugh because it doesn't start out like that, right? Understand that it's what you're showing up as, what you're starting with, and that's your plan, just to start. So I love to hear what you're, after my whole rant there, where you fit into that, but where your mindset is. But yes, that's what I think, that the idea of starting with a plan is also even just starting with a why, starting with an outcome, with a desire to create something. That's already the start of your plan. And I guess how we show up is where you go from there.
Right. And so for me, I think where not having a plan and where the importance is for me. And thank you for the acknowledgement and the compliment of, the process mastery that I am, but that's come after years of owning a business. I was not always great at process mastery and being driven into knowing what my outcomes were and what I wanted to do. And I will say that even just recently, in one of our calls with Unblinded, was really that light bulb moment for me of planning for the outcome, not just planning your list of to-dos and planning the list of things that you needed, that that you've got to knock off a list, but what is my outcome for today? Or as we're talking about in business, what is my outcome? What do I want from the business? And then working backwards from there. Now, I did what every, initial, young entrepreneur is told to do, right? I created a business plan, and yes, I did air quotes with that, right? Because we're all told to create this business plan. And I did that with Googled business plans or whatever, and pulled one from the internet. But I wasn't going and seeking financing from anywhere to do startups or do anything like that, and you actually can't do a lot of that with a law firm. So my business plan that I put together was really a pointless plan. So it didn't do anything for me. It didn't guide me on where I wanted the law firm to go. It didn't guide me on what my outcomes were. It didn't guide me on what I wanted to accomplish with my business and what I wanted to accomplish for my family. So it was really just one of those, here's what market research says, and here's what this is, and here's what that is. And it was the most pointless thing in the world, right? And so what I've learned, though, through the years and through coaching is, one, even though I just recently had that light bulb moment of planning for outcomes, I've realized that that's something that I've been doing since being in coaching, because now I have a business plan. Yes, there's more air quotes there, but now it's a working, breathing document, right? So I take my business in 18-month views and go, where do I want my business to be 18 months from now? And that's my outcome. And then I work backwards from there. And I actually work backwards quarter by quarter. So if I want my business to be here in 18 months, then in that quarter, I need to have met these goals. And so the quarter before that, I need to have met these goals. And the quarter before that, I need to have met these goals, and ultimately break that down month by month, right, into the next 18 months. And that's a working, living, breathing document. And it's subject to change, like you were just talking about, Greg, with some of those critiques that you got on that post of, well, you kind of just go with it and you roll with it. Yes, but having a written document that you're monitoring, that you're measuring, that you're looking at, and we talked about last week having to pivot in your business when things aren't going exactly the way that you thought they would go. But when you have a plan in place and you have things that you're measuring, things that you're watching, and things that you're monitoring, if I have put in my plan that in 18 months I need to be at this specific income level, and so over the next quarter, I've got to meet this income level. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to do that by doing these 6 marketing things that I'm going to do, right, over this next, 3 to 6 months. Well, if I'm not measuring those marketing things that I'm doing to see if they really work, then I don't know if I need to pivot any of them. Right. So now I find out 3 months later that the one marketing thing I'm doing is producing no income, no clients, nothing. Well, I'm going to remove that from my plan and figure out how to pivot it. I'm going to either remove it, or I'm going to figure out how to modify it, change it, pivot it to do what it needs to do. So it's a working, breathing document that I look at least every quarter to see what needs to change in my firm, in that plan, in that goal, to then push me further or beyond my goals that I set. And so that, to me, is what needs to be taught and needs to be coached on for new entrepreneurs and business owners, of what actually having a plan means when you're looking at starting a business.
It's, and like you speak about this, you said this a few times over, and the idea of it being living, breathing. I don't know if I brought this up last time. I think I did, because I just happened to be, I was looking it over again, but there's a book, Better, Faster, Smarter, or Smarter, Faster, Better. I don't remember exactly. I could get the exact naming for everybody, but the book talks about different organizations that were using SMART goals, right? And we've many of us have heard what SMART goals are, and just for anybody that hasn't, it's specific, measurable, action-based, realistic, and time-based, right? So like where are you in that, your goal, where are your goals along that framework? And they recognize that some companies, and even some divisions inside of some of these companies, were having massive success. Like you're talking about like 75, 78, 85% increases within 2 months, 3 months of time. And I'm talking about multi-billion dollar companies. And then some companies and some divisions, even inside of these huge companies that were having these huge success, were not. And they couldn't figure out what was going on. And they went and checked, and they saw that they were doing the SMART goals and they were pushing this forward. And they went into one of these calls. I see Marja just joined us. How are you? Diane is here. Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. And there was one there was one division of one of these companies that they went to, and they saw that they were doing their SMART goals, and they couldn't figure it out. So they decided, let's sit down and look at your SMART goals. And one of the SMART goals for somebody who was in an administrative position literally was, by June 26th, I will have ordered all of the paper clips necessary for the division for the next 6 months. And they said, okay, it's all that it is a SMART goal. It is specific. It is measurable. There is action to take. It is realistic. There's time. But maybe you're setting the bar a little too low. Maybe you're saying, and if you're recognizing that you're not growing from your actions, like you said, your plan is living, breathing. If you're recognizing that you're not getting to where you want to get to, and I think so many people have this when it comes to setting goals, maybe you can push yourself a little further, right? And B, maybe you can just find another, like you said, another pivot to do that will be more valuable valuable to you, your business, your clients. Because in all honesty, if you're not growing, you are not able to serve the people that you are serving at a higher level. So that's always what it is. We want to be able to grow more so that we can do more. We can't do more when we have less,
Right.
right? So I think that all comes along, and it starts with that goal setting, and it starts with that plan, whatever that plan is for you. And it's always different. It's always different. I have a morning group I'm part of. I wake up, lately I went back to an old routine of mine, and I've been waking up very early. For me, at least, it's very early. It's 4 a.m. and it's been amazing for me. To other people, they don't finish their jobs and their work and their businesses till 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not realistic to say it's time for you to wake up at 4 in the morning. Their 4 a.m. is my like 8 a.m. So it just, whatever it works for, how it works for you. And like you said, always moving and breathing, always pivoting, and always paying attention to monitoring and measuring what you want to achieve and how you're getting there.
Mhm.
How it's progressing towards that place.
Yeah. And so then importantly, I think the next step in the plan, and for anybody who's on our call with us, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And feel free to join our conversation. If you have any tips or tricks or mistakes you've learned from, please feel free to come on and share with us and our audience that's watching too. And so as I was going to say, knowing what to measure and monitor is just as important, right? And so, when I first started my own business, I had no idea what to measure. I didn't even know measuring and monitoring was a thing. Let's just get real. I didn't even know that was like something you were supposed to do, right? I'll get even more real and tell you how terrible I was. I was only tracking the money that came in, not money that went out, not bills, like only money that came in. That's the number I cared about, right? So I was terrible. Okay. And so
Makes sense to me. I don't know.
yeah, right. And then I learned that's just a terrible way to run a business. So, which sadly took business coaching for me to figure that out. But what I find pretty interesting though is that, in Unblinded, in the program that you and I are in, Craig, and that we coach people on, is that we have 7 levers of a business, right? That we talk to people and teach people on. And in a previous coaching program that I was in, surprisingly, they talked about the 7 levers of business that need to be measured and monitored. Now they were a different 7 than what we talk about in Unblinded, but they Unblinded falls under these main 7. And so when I started to put those together, and this is how I create my plan. So how I create my 18-month plan, I start with these 7 areas and go, okay, now in this area number 1, which is marketing, what do I need to do to be to my overall upcoming 18 months? And I put together a quarter by quarter marketing plan. What marketing I'm going to do? Am I going to be doing Facebook Lives? Am I going to do a podcast? Am I going to be doing paid ads? Or am I doing Google ads? Am I doing Facebook ads? What am I doing to push that forward? The next one is measuring and monitoring sales. You don't know if your marketing's working if you're not tracking the sales that are coming from them, and not just how many sales you're getting, but where your sales are coming from. Which marketing piece is it coming from? Where did those leads come in, and and the ones that you're closing, where did they come from? The next one is the people, and people is the people in your business, right? We have to look at the people in our business, and are we understaffed? Are we overstaffed? What do we need to do? Are they being efficient? Are they being profitable? Or are they wasting time and just pulling a paycheck for 8 hours a day? So you really have to be measuring and looking at your people. The next one is what we call the plant or the factory, right? That is your house, not your house, but your home of your business, if you will. It's the office space, but it's also the computers and the copiers and the paper. It's everything you have inside that factory to make your business run. Your financials, surprisingly, little did I know when I started a business, you have to track those things, right? You have to know not just what's coming in, but what's going out. And I won't go through all 7 of them, but I actually learned in business coaching that there are actually 7 financial plans that you need to be tracking in a business. And so I highly suggest when you're in a business that you should know those 7 financial areas that you should be tracking, or get a really good bookkeeper and accountant that knows those 7 areas that you should be tracking. And then production, right? So that goes along with your people and your factory. is how much production are you putting out? And that's going to tracking how efficient are your people being, is the production of the work actually getting out. And then number 7 is you. It doesn't run without you. And so how effective and how efficient are you? Are you, where we talk about, Craig, then the self-mastery side of things, how are you doing with yourself? Are and also taking care of yourself. I think more inside of just self-mastery goes along goes with self-care, right? You can't be overwhelmed and overstressed and, frazzled and all of those things. So are you being optimal as well? And so that is the wheel of the 7 things that I think your living, breathing business plan needs to have in place and should be tracking.
Wow, that was awesome. I put you on mute only because I still have kids screaming in the background downstairs. I
I
didn't want
heard
that to distract you guys from what you were sharing, but I was listening the whole time. I hope everybody else didn't get distracted as well. That's awesome, Siobhan. And the fact that you were able to implement that from your own education into your own business in that way probably was so valuable to you to be able to take the step from where you didn't know what you didn't know to what you can create. What I think that people need to understand, and Diane, thank you so much actually for saying that just now. Diane said, thank you, this is way overheard of business. What I think that people are not realizing is when they're starting off in business, all of this is going to be way over their head.
Absolutely.
Every bit of this is going to be so far over your head because we haven't reached that place to say, I'm starting a business, I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to take all this on. No, you need to go to people who know what they're doing, people who have done it before, and model them, right? Be able to understand that people have had successes in life and in business and say, I wouldn't go. They always say that the person who's his own lawyer is the dumbest person in the
Yes.
courtroom, and
For a client.
is a fool for a client, and a doctor can't do surgery on himself. It's the same thing. Whereas a person who's just starting a business, right? A person who's just starting a business doesn't sit there and say, I'm going to take all this on because I know what I'm doing here. You go to people who have done it before. And part of the thing that we said we were going to do in the first show, and we've done this already, both the first 2 episodes, and I'm going to do this again tonight, is allowing people to understand that Siobhan and I have both spent well into the 6 figures of our own developments in our business lives. Mm-hmm. And through those actions, through paying our dues, so to speak, in that we have paid what Keith Cunningham calls it, our dumb tax, and have learned some of the things that don't work, but have also been privileged to learn a lot of the things that do work. And there are certain people, so Siobhan brought up, like marketing, right? There is a gentleman named Peter Swain that I know that most of the people who are watching right now, and hopefully other people that have come on may or may not know him, but he has created a program called Magic on Tap. He is a genius in the marketing space, not just because he knows how to advertise your business and how to track your sales and everything, but he also understands the necessity to know your outcome. And he helps you figure that out to the point where you are clearer on what you're giving and what you're providing, the value you're providing to the people in the world. And that allows you to take the next step forward, right? We brought up Infinity X, which is a call that's going on after this. Oh, Diane said she's actually thinking about contacting him today. Thank you, Diane. I'm telling you, massive genius, really, in that space. I actually was on 3 calls today where his name just happened to come up. We also spoke about Infinity X. It's another program that comes on right after this at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which you can look up at weareinfinityx.com. And they highlight different entrepreneurs and business owners that help other business owners in all areas, right? In all areas of investing and starting new businesses, and just amazing different things that you can do to help your business. And there's so many access points like this. And please, if there's any comments, you can email us at what is it? Leadership. I'm sorry that we messed up with the email. I just got all messed up, but it was Leadership by Design 630, spelled out Leadership by Design 630 at gmail.com. You can email us and ask us any questions you want, or you can leave a comment in the Facebook post, and you can ask us about anything that you're looking to do. And we have tons of resources that we want everybody to just have the access to be able to not only grow, but be easier don't have to go through the dumb text. You don't have to go through the mistakes that we and other people have made. We appreciate you guys so much. It's coming up on the time at 7 o'clock, so don't want to go too far over. And I want I want Siobhan to be able to have the final over here. Marja just asked, what is the first of the 7 financial plan attacks?
Oh my goodness. That's a longer conversation than what we have time for on this show. But Marja, reach out to me. I'll happily discuss them with you.
I could definitely put the two of you in touch.
We'll pull it into another show if we need to as well. And maybe I have a great bookkeeper that knows those 7 financial plans, and so maybe I could bring them on too, and we can talk about that. So Craig, thanks for that. And so what you hit on a point that I was just thinking about and lost it. It flew right out of my head now. But and where you talked about that, we paid our dues, and we've spent literally 6 figures plus in learning these things and really learning them by mistakes, right? There's some very costly mistakes, but we've learned them. And one of the reasons, like Craig, you mentioned, that we wanted to do this show is because we want to be a resource, right? Like it's not an over exaggeration to say I've spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars making mistakes. I've literally spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on bad marketing, on having someone as a resource like Craig and I can be to everyone, to find the good marketing people, the people who know what to do, the people like Peter Swain who know that you got to know the outcome first before you just start what we now refer to, right, Greg, as like posting and praying, right? You have to put a post out there and pray that it's going to get somebody and pray that it's going to work, which is, and when you're paying companies to do these types of things, that's what you're doing. If you haven't sat with them and put a plan together, and you can't sit with them and put a plan together until you've sat down and put a plan together. And by no means, and Diane, thank you. That's such a great point to say that it's so far above where you are, and it's going to be so far above where everybody is. I didn't learn all of this stuff overnight, and I know we talked about a lot in one episode, but that was 2.5 years of business coaching for me, right? To learn those 7 levers of business, and putting plans together and making them, and making them work, and making that really efficient document and business plan. So it's, and it's having coaches and mentors that, helped me with those plans and sat down with me and built that plan, that I was then able to take it and go with it and make it, now mine, that I work from and can now bring to other people. So please, the one thing that I don't want everyone to do is feel overwhelmed by our episodes. We are here as resources, and we are here to help. And so we are giving you kind of some quick tips and things that we've learned, but we're certainly here to talk about it and go into more detail with anyone who wants that information. And we are here to help you as you are working your business, growing your business, leading your business, designing the business that you want to design.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Siobhan. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Siobhan, how can people get in touch with you personally if they would like to?
You can get in touch with me personally right here on Facebook. As I always say, you're watching this live on my newsfeed, so you know how to reach me and how to contact me. You can send me a private message, or you can reach me at 813-501-7721. And Craig, how can they reach you?
Fairly easy. If you're seeing this on my Facebook page or on Siobhan's, you can find me as well on Facebook and send me a private message, on LinkedIn as well. And you can send me a message anytime at 347-607-1213. It's 347-607-1213. Feel free to reach out to me, send me a message on WhatsApp or a direct message, text at any time, and I'll be glad to help in any way that I can.
Thank you so much, you guys. And Craig, thank you. You have been immensely helpful to me in many ways. I appreciate it.
Oh, Diane, my pleasure. My pleasure. Again, I sent you another message. Feel free to reach out. Marja, I love you. I miss you. I wish I got to see you on this call. I don't see your face. Your camera was off, but it's so great to see you. I will definitely put you in touch with Siobhan afterwards if you'd like. And anybody else who is here on Zoom or on Facebook, we're so grateful for you guys to be here. And yes, we will gladly give over. There's numerous resources out there that are absolutely wonderful. There might be some that cause a little bit more difficulty, but there are so many out there that are so wonderful and will help you, and we will gladly direct you in that way if we can.
Absolutely.
Have an amazing night, everybody.
All right. Bye, everybody.